Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Rama Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol.
This way? Not enough, right? No, it's not. It's not going to come all the way down. So let me take it from here. Oh, the dog is still. Okay. Yes. How many people does it take to fix the mic? Thanks. Sit on the sofa. Shall we go? Ready? Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langaite Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm wondering whether I should introduce myself. I recognize many of the faces. I'm feeling more and more at home here in Naperville. But anyway, maybe there's a few faces that I don't recognize. Because the thing is, I've been giving so many classes on Zoom, so all I see is blank or some deity picture. Yeah, so I'll say a few words. My name's Ananda Caitanya Das. You can probably tell I'm from London. And I was born and bred in London. My parents are from India. My heart is Indian, but I was born in London. And we worship Krishna at home. My mother was reading Prabhupada's books. I had access. I had the opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness, but I didn't. And I wasted 17 years of my life. And then when I was 17, I sort of began to read, and that helped me to become more serious. And I came in touch with a devotee. I'd come in touch with many devotees, but I guess everyone's got a time, and everyone connects with different people. And I think I came in touch with the right person at the right time. And Krishna arranges everything. I guess when an individual sukriti accumulates slowly, potentially over many lifetimes, when the time's right, when sukriti's been gathered, then Krishna takes hold of your life. So they say the devotees are like Vamana Dev. They come into your life. They tell you to do a little bit. Oh, just chant one round. Give it a try, a bit of meditation. It will help with your studies. I said, okay, that sounds like a good idea. And then one round becomes 2, becomes 4. And then you have to read as well, because if you want to chant properly, then you have to read as well. And then I had to give up onion and garlic. I mean, you know, really taking over your life. So anyway, it begins like that. And then the devotees convinced me about how important Krishna consciousness is. They helped me to realize that actually Krishna consciousness is the real goal of life. is the most important thing. And it's easy to say, but to really make that a reality in one's life requires something. And I'm still working on that. To make Krishna consciousness the number one thing in our life. So, and if that is the case, if it's the case that Krishna consciousness is the number one thing in our lives, then we'll also understand and know that the holy name is the number one thing in our lives. Because if we want to become Krishna conscious, if we want to make any advancement, Srila Prabhupada said that 95% of his advancement in Krishna consciousness came from chanting Hare Krishna. However, he said it took 30 years. This is Srila Prabhupada. He said it took him 30 years to perfect his chanting. When I heard that, I was simultaneously sort of like in dismay, like how am I ever going to make it if it took Prabhupada so long? At the same time in bliss, thinking, okay, well, 30 years isn't such a bad bargain, because I've spent millions and millions of lifetimes messing around in this material world. And then after 30 years, I can become a pure devotee. I mean, that's not a bad bargain. So, so today we're going to speak a little bit more about the holy name, and reflect on chanting Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada had such faith in the holy name. Whenever he'd be glorified, whenever devotees, others would marvel at his achievements, he'd say two main things. Sometimes he'd say it's all the mercy of the holy name. Other times he'd say it's all the mercy of my spiritual master. So we can understand that these are two very important ingredients in our Krishna consciousness. The mercy of the spiritual master and the mercy of the holy name. So when Prabhupada was taking sannyas, 1959, it was in the Keshav Gaudiya Mat in Mathura. Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj was giving him sannyas. And the ceremony was going on, and the priests were doing their puja. They were doing the yajna and so on. And of course, there's mantras which are being chanted. So the priest, the pujari, he told the devotees who were on the side doing the kirtan, okay, not so loud, let the mantras be heard. So then the devotees, they quieted the kirtan. And when he turned around, then Prabhupada told the kirtaniyas, okay, up, louder, louder. Because more important than any kind of Vedic mantras, no matter what those mantras may be, is Hare Nam Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nashteva 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 Katiranyata. The most important is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So Prabhupada saw that to be the most important thing. When he arrived in America, he's preaching in New York, trying. And what was his preaching strategy? These days we're all into strategizing and making plans and doing this and doing that and having documents and all of these kinds of things. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not having a go at that. But what was Prabhupada's strategy? He sat in Tompkins Square Park and he chanted Hare Krishna from his heart, yearning, calling out to the Lord, begging for mercy, begging, please send me people. So he's just chanting, sitting in Tompkins Square Park, alone, chanting Hare Krishna. And slowly, slowly, people became attracted. Purity is the force. This we have to always remember in our lives. Purity is the force. So faith moves mountains. Bible. Faith moves mountains. Having real faith in the process of Krishna consciousness, and everything else goes out of the window. So Prabhupada exhibited that pure faith. So chanting Hare Krishna, becoming fixed in chanting Hare Krishna, it really requires some focus. If this is a key means of our advancement, then we can understand that it requires some investment. So there are 3 levels of chanting Hare Krishna. Well, we can analyze it from so many different perspectives, but I'm just going to look right now at 3 levels. So the first level is Nama Parad. What are the symptoms of Nama Parad? Hands. Devotees can. Symptoms of Nama Parad. This is offensive chanting. It's okay. Yes, Prabhu.
Feels monotonous or
Feels monotonous. Not much taste involved. You get bored. Yeah.
we
Well-
check our phone when we
Checking your phone, making sure all the messages are being answered right away. We have to be responsive in today's age. Absolutely, yes. Making plans in your head. What I'm going to cook, meetings, phone calls, communications, duties, shopping list. So many different things going through the head. What else? Being inattentive. Right, so that really summarizes it. We chant in the morning, we chant the 10 offenses to the holy name. But they say the root of all of the chambers of our heart. So chanting Hare Krishna means, yes, we're inviting Krishna. And therefore inattention, and you can analyze the 10 offenses to the holy name. It's interesting when we'll come to this, offenses to the holy name, it's not actually so much about the 2 hours when you're chanting. It's more about the other 22 hours, the offenses to the holy name. And they create this inattention. They create this lack of focus. So Nama Parad means offensive chanting. It means that you're chanting, you're calling Krishna, but there's some level of disinterest, disrespect, and therefore Krishna distances. And therefore, there's no taste. There's no real connection. And chanting becomes a mechanical activity. It becomes something you have to do. It becomes a chore. I don't really want to do it, but I have to do it because I vowed to do it, or because I want to vow to do it. And it's not much of a spiritual life. So then the next stage is Namabhas. Namabhas means the clearing stage of chanting. It means that the moment we try to be attentive, the moment we try to hear the holy name and put in real effort into our chanting, at that moment, Namabhas begins. Krishna is just looking for an excuse to give us mercy. So when he sees a little bit of interest, just a little bit of desire to connect, Krishna is just dying to connect with us. Krishna wants us to be Krishna conscious more than we want to be Krishna conscious. That's the unfortunate reality. So when we chant, try. So when we're, at the end of the day, if you're chanting 16 rounds, you're going to spend 2 hours chanting. So let's at least try and make it quality. Really try and focus. We're spending the time. Our key commodity that we're struggling with is time. Right? It's a universal thing in today's world. Believe it or not, I also struggle with time. I'm a brahmachari. I'm living in the temple. And I should have all the time in the world to practice Krishna consciousness. But life is busy also. But 2 hours. Let us make it quality 2 hours. And the degree to which we really try, Krishna reciprocates, and that builds upon itself. So there's Namabhas, and as we work through the clearing stage, it removes all of the unwanted desires and habits in the heart. And then gradually, there's Shuddha Nam, pure chanting, where there's absorption, there's no obstacles, and all there is in the mind and heart is Harinam. It's a relationship. So the Acharyas, they describe that it's like you see the sun in the sky on a clear day. Blue sky, and the sun's there, very clear. That is Shuddhanam. But if there's clouds, and the sun permeates through the clouds to a degree, that's Nam Abhas. But when the clouds cover the sun, and the sun can pretty much not be seen, then that is Nam Aparad. So the holy name we need to study. There's Nam Tattva and Guru Tattva. These two things are very important for a devotee to really study in their lives, to really understand what is the holy name, how do I relate to the holy name. And the more we do that, the more we apply our intelligence. Kaviraj Goswami says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Siddhanta boliye chitte na kore olas, iha hoite Krishna lagi sudrita manas. That one should not be lazy in terms of understanding Siddhanta. One should apply one's consciousness, one should apply one's intelligence in understanding the Siddhanta, the philosophical truths, the tattva of Krishna consciousness, because this absorbs the mind. This strengthens the intelligence. This makes one fixed in Krishna consciousness. So one should study. We must all study the holy name and really get to grips with the science of chanting Hare Krishna. It's a science. It's a science. So, and through this, our faith is fortified. We understand to a greater and greater degree just how powerful the holy name is. Once there was a man, Yudhishthira Maharaj, this is from the Mahabharata. Yudhishthira Maharaj was very tired, and he told Bhim, I'm going to go to my room. I don't want anyone to disturb me. I want to be left alone. No one, nothing, under no circumstances. So Bhim said, of course. So then he stood at the door of Yudhishthira's room, and he was determined not to allow anyone in. So Yudhishthira Maharaj had generally an open door policy, in the sense that when he held his court, then people could come, and any problems or issues they had, they could express themselves. All of the great kings had this kind of a mood, an approach where they were open to the citizens expressing themselves. So soon after, a Brahmana came, and he was very disturbed. He said to Bhima that I need to see Yudhishthira. And Bhima said, no, it's not possible. Yudhishthira is resting. Come back another time. But the Brahmana said, no, this is very important. I've just seen some things which really disturb me. I need to see Yudhishthira. And Bhima said, okay, well, listen, Yudhishthira is unavailable. Maybe I can help you. So then the Brahmana said, okay, let's give it a try. I've just seen some very disturbing things going on, and I need an explanation. Okay, so tell. So the first thing the Brahmana saw was that he saw a jug and 4 cups. And the jug was full of water. You know the story? No. Does anyone know the story? You know the story. Okay. Only one. That's good. So, so he takes a jug's full of water, and he pours water. Someone pours water into all of the cups. The cups are all full. And then they pour the water back into the jug. All of the water goes back into the jug, but now the jug is only half full. How does this work? Jug was full. You poured water into all 4 cups, and then you pour the water back into the jug, but now the jug's only half full. So confusing. Then the next thing that he said he saw was that there was a field, and there was a fence surrounding the field. And then somehow, imperceptibly, he saw the fence coming in. And then again, the fence coming in and restricting and limiting the area of the field. How is this happening? What's going on? Third thing he said he saw was that there was someone sitting there, and they were threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. Threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. This reminds me of the story of Nard Muni. You know the story of Nard Muni? And the cobbler. Okay, so someone was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle, but the tail got stuck. So confusing. What's going on? And then the fourth thing he saw was that there was a road and there was a huge boulder blocking the road. And big, strong men came. 100 big, strong men came. And they're trying to push the boulder out of the way. But no one was successful. The boulder was immovable. So many tried. It seemed impossible. And then a sadhu came. He got his chadar. He got a string from his chadar. My chadar is not so stringed. But he got a little string from his chadar. And with that string, he removed the boulder. How does this work? What's going on? Very curious. Ganga Narayan Prabhu has this curious look on his face. Yeah. So he said, I need an explanation. So Bhima was sitting there thinking, you're right, that's pretty confusing. Go and see Yudhishthira Maharaj. So the Brahmana went in to see Yudhishthira Maharaj, and an hour later he left looking very happy, looking very blissful. And he left and he's about to leave, and Bhima said, hey, hold on. I want the answers. Did you get answers? So he said, yes, Yudhishthira Maharaj is a genius. So he said, okay, but tell me, I want to know as well. So then the Brahmana explained, Yudhishthira Maharaj enlightened me. He explained that these are all symptoms of Kali Yuga. Yeah. Number one. What was number one? Who remembers? So Yudhishthira Maharaj explained that in Kali Yuga, the jug is giving, and what it gets back is half. This is the nature of Kali Yuga. You ever experienced that? You give, and then you give some more, and you don't seem to get back a commensurate amount. I think that about children. I think that about myself. My parents gave me so much giving, so much sacrifice, and giving without a desire for return in many ways. But how much do we give back? The word for gratitude in Sanskrit is kritagya. Krita means to do, and gya means to know. To know what someone has done for you. Kritagya, that's a definition of gratitude in Sanskrit. To know what someone has done for you. Is that correct, Gopalari Prabhu? Sanskrit, that's good. To know what someone has done for you. And in today's world, to what degree are we conscious of what others have done for us? We've received so much. Just in the Krishna consciousness movement, we've received so much from our predecessors. Field and the fence. So he explained, Yudhishthira Maharaj explained that this is the nature of Kali Yuga. Leaders, they're meant to protect citizens. Rather, what they do is that they limit and they exploit those under their ward. Once there was a man, and he was a leader of a company, and it was a factory. So he rolled in a brand new Ferrari, and everyone's watching. Amazing, brand spanking new, shining Ferrari. God knows how much he spent on it. Everyone's like, wow, amazing. So he got out of the car and everyone's watching. And then he turns around to them and he says, if next year you all work doubly hard, do extra hours and work very intensely, then next year I'll also be able to buy the latest model of the Ferrari. That's the nature of leaders these days. Yeah? So self-centered. So, so that's leaders, fence going in. Number 3. Elephant through the eye of a needle. So Yudhishthira Maharaj explained that the nature of Kali Yuga is that the big criminals, they get away with murder. So many, I mean, let's not name any names, but there's one obvious one. We're in America. And people just get away with anything and everything. But the little criminals, the small timers, they're the ones that get caught. Right? I had this experience many times when I was distributing books. You see so many things going on in the environment, in the streets, especially in the UK. You know, it's quite a crime-ridden place. And I won't describe some of the things that you see going on, but the police would always come and pick on the poor little Hare Krishna monk trying to do some good in the world. You know, we always got picked on. Police always wanted to question us, take our details, you know, kick us out of the town. You're not allowed to be here. You're not allowed to do this. So many times. I can tell so many stories of being in the police station, being in prison. I got deported from a country once, distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. Little old me. So the little guys, you know, they get done. But the big criminals, they're getting away with so many terrible, heinous crimes. So that's the nature of Kali Yuga. 4th thing. The boulder and the sadhu. So Yudhishthira Maharaj said, the boulder's there. So many people try to remove this boulder. No one can remove it. And then the sadhu comes and moves it with a string from his chadar. He says, Yudhishthira Maharaj explained, Kaler dosho nidhi rajan asti hieko mahan guna kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha parambraje. He explained that yes, this Kali Yuga is a sea of faults. Nothing is good in Kali Yuga. Everything is bad. There's one good thing. There's one saving grace. There's one thing that we must take shelter of, because this removes the boulder that represents all of the issues of this world that we're faced with, and that is the holy name. That string represents the holy name. With this one holy name, everything else, if your chanting is right, then everything else is all right. There was one sadhu who used to say that all the time, and it stuck. So we must really learn that the holy name is the real shelter. Is real shelter. We are protected. We're protected from the ravages of Kali Yuga by the mercy of the holy name. But what's stopping us? What's stopping us from really taking shelter of the holy name? It is the mad mind, the monkey mind. Rupa Goswami explains that the mind is, he gives this example. He said the mind is like a drunk monkey. I was saying to the devotees on Friday night, the mind is like a drunk monkey haunted by witches and ghosts. So everyone remembers monkeys. If you've been to Vrindavan, then you're definitely familiar with monkeys. Yeah, they're quite, I mean, now if you go on Govardhan Parikram, there's so many monkeys in some areas, and they're quite menacing. They can be quite violent, and they're very intelligent also. In the past, dealing with monkeys was much easier. They always took glasses. I've always seen monkeys climb up onto people, grab the glasses. Like if Amol Pru is going around in Vrindavan, then you're sure that a monkey is going to come, grab your glasses, and then jump up onto the rooftop. And then they're just watching, and they start chewing on the glasses. and they're waiting. What do they want? Fruity. And so you have to buy them a fruity, and then you throw them the fruity. You said mango drink, in case anyone's not familiar. You throw them the fruity, and then they throw back the glasses. And sometimes they leave them there if they're not feeling so cooperative. And then you have to climb up onto the building or get someone to do that. But nowadays, what I see is that they become even more intelligent. So what I saw recently in Vrindavan is that they grabbed someone's glasses, jumped onto the rooftop, that someone bought a fruity, they threw it up to the monkey, then the monkey holds it in one arm, and then asks for one more. Asks for one more. And the monkey's looking. One more. And then you have to give it one more. And then it leaves you alone. So they're very intelligent. But that mind is like a drunk monkey. Imagine, these are not drunk monkeys. A drunk monkey haunted by witches and ghosts. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that one has to beat the mind 100 times with a shoe in the morning. And one has to beat the mind 100 times with a stick in the evening. This is his prescription. You have to beat the mind. Chanting is a real effort. It's a real endeavor. One really has to apply oneself in this process in order to make any kind of progress. At the end of the day, in anything in life, if you want to make some progress, it doesn't fall into your lap. Nothing good in this world just comes. So the same with the holy name, it really requires some endeavor, some focus, some energy. So if the lips are chanting, but the mind is not focused, then chanting Hare Krishna is not a very effective process. The lips have to be chanting and the mind has to be absorbed, has to be focused on what one is chanting. So this is the process, and we have to really overcome the mind. We have to find a state of absorption. Once Akbar, the famous emperor, he was more open to other religions outside of Islam, although he had his fair share of atrocities. But Akbar was sitting in a mosque and he was reading the Quran. And he was sitting there alone, reading the Quran. And the guards were there, watching. Then suddenly there was a lady outside, and he saw her out the window. There was a lady outside and she was running. It seemed like she was flailing her arms and she was looking for someone, trying to find someone, calling out someone's name. She was running from one place to another. And Akbar was kind of thinking, who is she? What does she want? What's wrong with her? Then eventually Akbar was just down reading the Quran, and she came into the mosque and she had her hands in the air, calling out, shouting, and then she ran past Akbar and she knocked the Quran out of his hands. And she was so oblivious she didn't even notice. So Akbar he was livid. You know the word livid? Very, very angry. And he said, guards, arrest her. So of course the guards arrested her and they brought her in front of Akbar. And Akbar said, I sentence you to death by thick rope. Thick rope because then the death is slower. You know, if it's a thin rope, then there's more pressure in one place and suffocation will take place quicker. Thick rope. So Akbar was very upset, of course. So the lady said to him, she looked at him and she said, okay, I accept. But if I'm going to die anyway, can I just say a few words? My last request. Everyone gets a last request, right? So Akbar said, go ahead. And he said, okay. So I was absorbed, looking for a lover of this world. I was so absorbed that I didn't even notice that I knocked off your Quran. But how absorbed were you? How absorbed were you? You were looking for for the original lover, for the original person. But how absorbed were you in that activity? You were disturbed by me and my mundane activity. So Akbar really began to think, how absorbed was I? I was distracted by her movements. I was distracted by her disturbing me. Akbar learned a great lesson and he let her go. And from that day on, he was I guess he tried, this is how it's described, he tried to be very focused and absorbed, because in any kind of spiritual practice, one really requires focus. One really requires absorption. But what stops us? Prabhupada explains in 1.3.44, famous purport, famous section actually, very nice verses and purports towards the end of that third chapter of the first canto. But 1.3.44, Prabhupada explains that one cannot give rapt attention. So we have to give rapt attention to Bhagavatam. We have to give rapt attention to the holy name. But Prabhupada describes that one cannot give rapt attention unless one is pure in mind. Then he says one cannot be pure in mind unless one is pure in action. And then he says one will not be pure in action unless one is pure in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So we have to be very vigilant. Chanting is not just about the 22 hours, the 2 hours that we're sitting there and chanting the holy name. Chanting is about a lifestyle. What do we do in the other 22 hours? What kind of images do we allow our eyes to see? What kind of sounds do we allow our ears to hear? What kind of tastes do we allow our tongue to taste? Do we eat kami grains? Do we talk prajalpa? Worse still, do we criticize Vaishnavas? All of these things, they affect and sully the mind. And they make it much more difficult to chant the holy names. So following the 4 regulative principles strictly affects our chanting of the holy names. I remember once Ananda was giving a class, and maybe this is a bit strong, but it's Ananda, so I can quote him. The first question he asked, I think it was a class just to men, and you'll understand why I say that. The first question he asked is, who's wearing copins? And because he said, and everyone was like shocked, like, why is that relevant? And he said, because I want to know who I'm speaking to. I want to know how serious you are in Krishna consciousness. And on that basis, I'll preach. Because he wanted devotees to chant the holy names, and it seemed simple enough. You just pick up a harmonium, pick up a mridanga, and you can chant the holy names. But it's not that simple. What is the consciousness behind our lives? How do we live our lives? Because everything we do feeds into our chanting of the holy names. It affects our consciousness. Nothing is devoid of chanting. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would pick the worst singer and he would ask him to sing kirtan. And devotees were like, closing their ears, But he said, purity is a force. This individual has a pure heart. And therefore the Harinam that he will sing will actually affect people's hearts if they're hearing with sincerity. So are we hearing the holy name or do we hear the music? This is kirtan. It's a kirtan. A good kirtaniya will chant 16 quality rounds. Japa is the basis of good kirtan. Good music is one thing, but good music will not change the heart, will not affect the heart. So our lifestyle is an essential consideration in terms of how we approach the holy name. Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, he was so absorbed in the holy name. He was always chanting the holy name. He was always blissful. Once he was sick, so a doctor came and he put a stethoscope to his chest, and he was hearing. And what did he hear? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. How do you get to that kind of stage? How do you get to that kind of stage where your every pore is chanting the holy names? That kind of absorption. That's what we must aspire for. See, Krishna consciousness is all about desiring. We have to desire to be Krishna conscious. In the material world, we have so many aspirations, so many goals. You can't live in this world without goals and plans. So, I remember when I was young, sort of my parents had my whole life planned out. Leave their lives, they had my whole life planned out. At this age you'll go to university, at this age you'll get married, at this age you'll have your first child, at this age you have your second child, at this age you'll have to finish your mortgage, and and all of these things were planned out. My dad would write it down periodically and show me, this is a plan. So we plan in our lives. I didn't quite follow the plan, of course, but that's another story. Spiritual life also requires a plan. When was the last time we planned our spiritual life and sat down and thought, okay, I need to hit Nishta. Up until Nishta, Krishna consciousness is very unsteady and it's a very precarious situation. How am I going to get to Nishta? How the hell can I get to Nishta? I need to figure this out. This is the real problem in my life. And what's the process? What's the game plan? What's my lifestyle? How am I going to progressively move forward in Krishna consciousness and get to that point? And that's just an intermediate stage. That's not the goal. And although it's much easier practicing Krishna consciousness beyond Nishta, it's still, there's still challenges. It's a material world. So we really have to find a space in our lives. And it's not easy in today's world. But planning and choices are very, very important. How do we plan our lives? So a young man, yesterday we did Sankirtan seminar in the conference room in the temple. And, afterwards a young man came with his father and they wanted some advice. He said he's just got an offer he had various offers, but now he's got an offer from one of the top universities. And he was asking me, should I take the offer? And, I don't know. I'm not really the best person to ask that kind of a question. But I asked him, so what do you want? What are your priorities? What do you want in your life? Where do you want to be when you're 30? Where do you want to be when you're 40? Where do you want to be when you're 50? And then you work backwards. And then you can figure out, what should I do now? What do I want? And every choice in our lives, a serious devotee will think, every important choice in our lives, how will this affect my chanting Hare Krishna? If we understand that my spiritual life is the most important thing in my life, if I understand, therefore, that my chanting is of paramount importance, then every decision that we make in our lives, how will this affect my chanting? Will this disturb my chanting? How is this going to impact my chanting? There was a devotee who he had a business. This is in Hungary. He had a business and it was a small car garage. And he had the offer to buy a much bigger garage. And he spent months deliberating. Should I do this? Should I not? Can I do it financially? Can I figure this out? Can I find the right employees? Do I have the contacts? All of these kind of questions. And then he asked his spiritual master. And the first thing Maharaj said to him was, how's this going to affect your chanting? Will you be able to get up in the morning and chant 16 good rounds before you start your day? And that has to be a key consideration. There has to be a key consideration. Krishna comes first. And that means putting Krishna in the center of our lives. At the beginning, and I can say this because you're all seasoned devotees, at the beginning we say to people, just add a bit of Krishna to your life. Just like I said, devotees are like Vamanadev, they begin small. Just add a bit of Krishna, chant 1 round, chant 2 rounds, read a little bit when you can. Okay, read every day, chant 8 rounds, and then chant 16, and it kind of increases and increases. The demands increase. But at the end of the day, the real thing is Krishna is the center of your life. And we have to really figure out what that means practically in order to really move forward, because this material world is full of distractions. It's not easy to focus and control the mind. And we have to be absorbed in Krishna somehow. And our scriptures give so much beautiful, wonderful insight into the name, form, qualities, abode, and associates of Krishna. Caitanya Mahaprabhu meets Raghupati Upadhyay. And just like when he meets Ramananda Rai, Caitanya Mahaprabhu becomes a student. And he asks questions. The Supreme Personality of Godhead asks questions. So, one question is, what's the goal? What's the goal of Krishna consciousness? So then Raghupati Upadhyay says a beautiful verse. He says, Shyama meva param rupam puri madhupuri vara vaya kaishorakam dhyayam adya eva parorasa. He describes that all forms in this world, there are so many forms, so many incarnations. Shyam, Krishna. Shyam Sundar Krishna. He's the most beautiful. Puri Madhupuri Vara. Of all places. So many different places. You go to India, there are so many holy places. But of all places, Madhupuri is the topmost. Madhu means honey. That place which is dripping sweet like honey. So they say Mathura, Madhupuri refers to Mathura, but being more specific is Vrindavan. That place, sometimes authors, acharyas, they're indirect. Like we say Ante, someone asked me the other day, we say Ante Narayana Smriti. But we always say we want to remember Krishna, not Narayan. So it really depends on the devotee. It depends what's in the heart of a devotee. They will take a word. You look at the commentaries of the acharyas, and for just one word, they'll give so many different meanings. It could mean this, it could mean this, it could mean this, it could mean this. It can mean so many things. It's dependent on the devotee and what is their bhav, which is called Kaumara. Yeah. 0 to 5. Balya, Kaumara, one of the two. You can use either. And then 5 to 10, which is Poganda. And then 10 to 15, which is Keshor. So of all ages. And then Rupa Goswami actually splits the 10 to 15 into further 3. More and more detailed. Once I was talking to Kadamba Kanamraj and I was asking about chanting. And I always remember his advice. It was maybe 15, 17 years ago. And he said, just remember the details. Read Krishna's pastimes and remember the details. Because there's so much sweetness in the details. And when those details come to the mind, They help you to connect with Krishna as a person in a deeper and deeper way. So the acharyas give us so much detail. So of all ages, Gaishore is the topmost. Meditate on that age and Krishna's name, form, qualities, associates, and his pastimes in the Gaishore age. And this is his advice. And Adya eva paro rasa, of all rasas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give a particular rasa. Anarpita chirim chirat, karuna vatirna kalo, samarpaitu manutujwala rasam sabhakti shriyam, hari puruta sundara dyuti kadamba sandipitaha, sada hriday khandare spurutuva sachinandana. So this is the very beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Is the Ashirvad. See, this Mangala Charan, Kaviraj Goswami gives his Mangala Charan. This is offering blessings. There are three parts of Mangala Charan. Vastu Nirdesh, setting the objective of this text. Number 2, Namaskar, paying obeisances, paying respects to great personalities, predecessors. And then Ashirvad, offering blessings. So in this verse, Kaviraj Goswami, this verse was composed by Swarup Damodar Goswami. It glorifies Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it says Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give something very, very special, something very, very rare. And that something has not been given for a very, very long time. What is that something? It's the Unnatujwala rasa. It's the effulgent rasa. It's the Dasya rasa. No? Some of you seem convinced and some of you look unconvinced. So it describes Rupa Damodar Goswami, Rupa Goswami, they describe he's come to give the Unnatujwala rasa. He's come to give the effulgent rasa. That's the Madhurya rasa. This is his gift to humanity, his particular gift to humanity. May that Sachinandana, may that son of Mother Sachi be manifest in the innermost chambers of your heart. This is Kaviraj Goswami's blessing. But he's come to give something very special. Adya eva paro rasa. Of all rasas, one should meditate on the Adi Ras, the Madhurya Ras, the pastimes taking place there. So, when we chant Krishna, when we chant the holy name, it should be pregnant with meaning. Krishna is a person. And the more we always talk about reading and chanting. There's a reason. It's because these two things go hand in hand. They're essential, both. And the more we read Bhagavatam, what is the purpose of Bhagavatam? Is to install Krishna in our hearts. So the more we absorb our minds, the more we take the time to hear Bhagavatam, to read and study Bhagavatam, when we chant Hare Krishna, then that name has so much meaning. That name is not just a sound, but it's a person. It's someone that you're reading about. It's someone that you're remembering. And there's a connection. And then chanting becomes more and more meaningful. I'm begging Krishna, O Lord, O energy of the Lord, Srimati Radharani, please engage me in your loving devotional service. This is the meaning that Prabhupada gave for the Mahamantra. Another meaning, simpler, is just please accept me. Please accept me. Allow me to be your servant. One name of a servant in the spiritual world is Kinkari. It means Kim Karomi. What shall I do? What can I do? How can I serve? That is our constitutional position. So chanting is a prayer. Chanting is a meditation. Chanting is a 2-hour begging session. We're beggars. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj wrote these beautiful books called the Beggar Series, 4 books. And he's just begging, each prayer more mesmerizing and beautiful than the other. Just begging and begging and begging. He would sign off his letters. He'd write your servant. Same principle, but he'd write your dependent. Slightly different mood. Your dependent. So, chanting is a culture. It's the essence. It's everything in Krishna consciousness. Everything comes from chanting Hare Krishna. But the more we enter into it, take time to study and take this process seriously, the more we will have the opportunity to experience Krishna consciousness. Rupa Goswami gives the gold standard of chanting. Beautiful verse. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw this verse, my tongue, the holy name is dancing on my tongue. Such a taste. And I wish I had millions of tongues. I wish I had millions of tongues so I can dive into that ocean. Then he says, when that holy name enters into the whole of my ears, I wish I had millions of ears. The bliss of hearing that mantra, the holy name, is so wonderful. I wish I had millions of ears. And then when that holy name enters into the chamber of my heart, it dances in the chamber of my heart. Rupa Goswami says that it renders all other senses inert. One becomes devoid of what's going on around them, unconscious, so absorbed in the bliss of the holy name. And actually then he says, No jane janita ki adbir amrite krishneti varnam dvai. This is just when he chants Krishna. Never mind the rest. So just when he says Krishna, these 2 syllables, this is the effect that they have. He says, who knows how much bliss there is in just these 2 syllables? It's unfathomable, he's saying. So this is the potential. This is the possibility. This is real chanting. So we have to shoot for the rhino. In life, we have to shoot for the rhino. You're all apt at shooting for the rhino because you've come here to America. That's pretty good, right? Most of you were born in India. Many of you were born in India and then moved here to America. So you're used to shooting for the rhino. So let us shoot for the rhino in Krishna consciousness also. And my experience is if you shoot for 100, then maybe you'll get 75. If you shoot for 50, then maybe you'll get 30. So let's shoot for the rhino. There's nothing wrong. No one can shoot you for shooting for the rhino. Right? And Krishna likes a man with a plan. A woman with a plan as well, you know. Final thing, Krishna consciousness is about desiring. Life is about desiring. You don't get anything if you don't desire. Every morning we sing Tulsi Arati. What do we say? Mora e abhilas. What does abhilas mean? Desire. E nivedana dharo. Nivedan. What does nivedan mean? Request. So we want something. So Krishna consciousness is not about desirelessness. Krishna consciousness is about desiring for something. And over time, that desire, that prayer becomes more and more specific. So we have to desire. We really have to desire. We have to be careful about what we desire for. Gopakumar is advised, Yad yad sankalpa bhovatsa nija mantra japishyasi tat prabhavena tat sarvam vancha titam chasetsiti. It said that when you're chanting your mantra, nija mantra japishyasi, have a sankalpa, have a desire. Gopakumar is told, this is in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. He says, because by the effect of your mantra is so powerful. Your mantra is so powerful that whatever you desire, vancha, it will satisfy your desires. And therefore we have to be very careful also what we're desiring. Because if the mind is wandering in the wrong directions, then the holy name can also fulfill desires that you may not really want to be fulfilled. So let us really take shelter of the holy names in a deeper and deeper, more and more meaningful way. The possibilities are endless. I'm going to stop and see if there's any questions. Anything anyone would like to add? Gopal Hari Prabhu, would you like to say something?
Such a nice class. I'll give my final one is great.
I was trying to get him to give the class, but he denied me 5 times, so I gave up.
For very good reason. It was such an inspiring and wonderful class. I definitely think that after this, at least my chanting, it needs much improvement, and it'll definitely improve at least a little bit. Right, isn't it? Because you gave us such nice tips and practical instructions, and some of the things that you said really resonated very deeply. Like you said, chanting is not just about the 2 hours when we're chanting, but the 22 hours, the rest of the day, what we're doing. That is also part of our chanting, and that's so true. And I remember 1 or 2 days of my life when I was reading a lot. I spent many hours reading Krishna book or something due to some assignment or just happened to be. Then the next day my chanting is really nice. It's just like, I somehow, how's it? And then I realized the connection only afterward that, yesterday I had read a lot, and so the mind was so much easier to focus on the holy name.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, bro. Reading and chanting. Anyone else? Yes, Machi. In the red and then in the white.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
It's a very good for me personally, because I'm struggling with chanting. But last 3 levels you mentioned, the last level, that could be I wanted to know, what is that feeling when you are really into the chanting, 100% focus? What is that feeling? If anyone in the group or you, Prabhuji, can give some words to that.
That's what Rupa Goswami describes. That's Rupa Goswami's description, that Shuddha Nam. There's nothing else but the name. You sit, you chant, and there's nothing else going on in the universe. Nothing can disturb you. Matsya Puran says that the first level of meditation, it talks about meditation, the principle of meditation, is to be able to hear your mantra for 12 seconds. Kurma Puran, not Matsya Puran, Kurma Puran. To be able to hear your mantra for 12 seconds. It sounds easy, but just try it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I won't ask whose mind wandered. But Kurma Puran says the first level is to be able to hear your mantra, to be able to meditate for 12 seconds. First stage. The mind doesn't go anywhere. All that is going on is the holy name. Next stage, 12 times 12 seconds. Who's good at maths?
144.
Right, so about 2.5 minutes. To be able to hear your mantra for 2.5 minutes, for 12 times 12 seconds, 144 seconds, nothing else going on. And then the third stage is 12 times 12 times 12. Who's good at maths? Huh? Right, good, exactly. So basically, to be able to hear your mantra for 30 minutes and just hear your mantra. And that's as good as samadhi. Yeah? There's more after samadhi. We often just hear samadhi, but there's beyond samadhi also. But we won't get into that right now. But this is meditation, absorption. Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila. As we chant, and you chant attentively, and you're focused and you're absorbed, then Krishna's form will come to your mind. Not that we bring the form into the mind, but Krishna's form will manifest in the mind. And then Krishna's qualities. And then Krishna's pastimes. There's different levels of remembering Krishna's pastimes. But that's...
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you very much.
And Mataji?
What does shooting rhino means exactly?
Aim high.
Aim high.
Don't sell yourself short. Meaning, often when you ask devotees how's spiritual life, then it's like, yeah, struggling along, And yeah, it's tough, it's difficult. And of course, those elements are there. But they often say that obstacles are what you see when you take your eye off the goal. To what degree do we have a goal in Krishna consciousness? And when we have a goal and we're determined and desirous to reach that goal, there are always going to be obstacles in life. But if we're determined to reach that goal, then all of the other obstacles become immaterial. One of my favorite stories is test day, Dronacharya. He was testing the Kauravas and the Pandavas. So then there was a tree, and there was a bird in the tree, wooden bird. And the task was to shoot the eye of the bird. I know many of you know this story, but I love telling it. And it has a samskara, I hope. So the task was to shoot the eye of the bird. He's looking around to see the bird, yeah? So to shoot the eye of the bird. That was a task. So they all come up. Dusasan comes up. And he takes a bow and arrow. And Dronacharya says, what do you see? Arjun says, Gurudev, the eye of the bird. Dronacharya says, what else do you see? Arjun says, nothing, Gurudev. Just the eye of the bird. And Dronacharya is so proud. And he says, shoot. And Arjun, of course, shoots and gets the eye of the bird. So we have to be very clear and determined. Very clear about what our goal is in Krishna consciousness and become desirous to attain that goal. What are we here for? Krishna consciousness is not a religion. Krishna consciousness is not a religious process. Krishna consciousness is... What is Krishna consciousness? If it's not a religion, maybe some of you thought, I've joined a religion. I'm now a good Hindu. Krishna consciousness is a mission, it's a movement, and it's taking us towards life's ultimate reality. And we really have to be very clear about where I'm going, what I'm doing, and what I really want. To what degree have I really sold out to that goal, to what Krishna consciousness is? Once there was a man, and he set out to climb a mountain. And he was at the base, he checked into a hotel, and the next morning he was planning on going out to trek up the mountain. So he checked into the hotel, had a good night's rest, and he woke up in the morning and he checked out, gave the receptionist the key. But overnight there was a huge blizzard, and that blizzard was going on, huge storm. And he just checked out, gave the keys, and walked out, and was about to start climbing. And the receptionist ran out and said, hey, sir, hold on. I mean, you can't go out. Look, there's a storm outside. You'll kill yourself. The man described that my heart is already there. My heart is already at the top. So if I've already decided that I'm going to get there, then getting my body there is just a matter of time. So she was shocked, and he just carried on walking. He went for it. So the point is, in Krishna consciousness, to what degree have we really given our hearts that this is what I want, this is my life and soul, this is the most important thing, and I'll do anything to get there. I'll do anything to get there. That's shooting for the rhino. One last question.
I have a question, but my question is so long that I'll probably talk to you later.
Sure. I like those kind of questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank
Hare
you
Krishna.
so much for such a wonderful class. It's been, it's really enlightening actually to see within myself and the struggles, but at the same time, you're also giving like a prescription of what to be done. The one thing that really caught my attention is, while we're chanting, those 2 hours were inattentive. That's a root cause of her offense. But you said even what we do during the day. So I didn't even know that there was such a thing. So can you please elaborate? What do you mean, like what we're doing the other 22 hours, the offenses against the holy name?
Sure. How long have you got? Okay, I know you've all got work tomorrow and school and whatever else, so we'll make it quick. What's the first offense to the holy name? The first offense to the holy... Are you likely to do that during the 2 hours or the 22 hours? Yeah. Second offense to the holy name. Second offense. Well, you do every day. Second offense to the holy name. Hold on, it's too, I can't hear. Okay, who worships demigods? Okay, it's okay, you don't have to say. But worshipping demigods is an offense to Krishna. Krishna doesn't appreciate it, because it says to him that you don't have enough faith in me. But you're going to worship the demigods during the 2 hours or the 22? 22. Third offense to the holy name. Disobeyed us. That's life. Life and soul for a disciple. But likely you'll do that during the 24 hours, right? Then 4. Okay. Yeah, to blaspheme the Vedic literatures or literatures in pursuance of the Vedic version, right? So, to not have real faith. Is this really true? Is this really possible? Someone asked me, is it really possible that Varahadev, his knees come, he's standing in the causal ocean and it comes up to his knees? I can't believe that. It's too much. To not be able to understand that I'm a frog in a well. I can't understand everything. understanding of reality is so limited. I just saw an article saying Elon Musk was saying how Elon, whatever you want to say, but he was saying how mobile in 5 or 6 years' time there'll be no more mobile phones. They'll be out, and AI will just take over everything. And there'll be some contraption which will give us access to AI, and that will do everything we may want to do and more. But who can imagine life without phones? And we're just talking about piddly little technology here. The supreme absolute truth. The possibilities are endless. We are frog in the well. So if you go through the 10 offenses, you'll see, and I won't do it all now, but if you see, it is all about our life. How we see life, how we act, how we interact, what do we do, what do we not do. 2 main: blaspheme devotees, to criticize devotees, and to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. These 2 are the most common, worshipping demigods in Hindu circles. I preach in Western circles. These 2 things are the most dangerous, the most pernicious, the heaviest reactions. Disobey the orders of the spiritual master and offend Vaishnavas. 2 main reasons why devotees lose taste for Krishna consciousness. Very dangerous. Beware. Sadhu savdhan. How we live is very, very important. We should have a sattvic environment and live a sattvic lifestyle. And a simple lifestyle. Life ideally should be simple so that it gives time and space to practice Krishna consciousness. So many things you have to charge these days. Just charging, meaning, you have to plug things into charge. Everything needs to be charged these days. There's always something which is running out of battery, and life becomes so complicated. So the nature of this material world is that life becomes complicated. One last story, and then we'll finish. Once there was a man, and he was on an island, living a peaceful, blissful life next to the sea. He had a hammock, and you know what a hammock is? Between 2 trees, laying down, reading his book. When he's feeling hungry, get his fishing rod. Not the most Krishna conscious example, my apologies. But he'd go out, fish, catch a couple of fish, cook them, have his meal, and carry on relaxing. That was his life every day. Life is free and easy, wonderful. No problems, no worries. So one day he was fishing, and someone comes up behind him and he says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm fishing." He says, "Yeah, but I've seen you over the past few days. You just catch 2 fish and eat them. Haven't you ever thought, catch a couple more fish, go to the market, sell the fish, you get some money in your pocket?" He said, "Wow, I never thought of that." So the next day he catches 4 fish, eats 2 and sells 2. Comes back 15 minutes, money in the pocket. Happy days. So then, he carries on doing that. So then he expands until he kind of gets to a certain capacity. So then every day he's catching 20 fish, selling them. He can't carry many more to the market, sells them, and then comes home. So then his business advisor comes along again and says, "Hey, you're not very intelligent, are you? I see you lugging all these fish around. Employ some people. They work for you. They catch the fish. You can make more money." He says, "Wow, I never thought of that." So then he employs a few people, turns into a mini business. They're catching hundreds of fish, taking to the market, selling them, and the man is getting richer and richer, but busier and busier. Right? There's always a catch. That's the nature of this material world. Nothing is free. So then he carries on. He's employed some people, and then the advisor comes and says, "Come on, you're not thinking, you're not enterprising. You can export fish to the mainland, sell them there. You're saturated here, but there's so many more people in the mainland." I said, "Wow, I never thought of that." So then the business empire expands, And then sometime later he says, come on, international. You've done national. Now do international. You've got the most succulent, best fish in the region. You can sell all across the continent. And like that, he becomes busier and busier. And what happens? You have employment issues. People are sick. People need to be paid. Payrolls, logistics, ships break down, Iran war. So many different things going on, right? Strait of Hormuz is now like famous in the world, everyone's heard. So life gets stressful. Life's got suddenly now so busy. He's managing an international fish empire. He gets 4 days off in a year. And guess what he does? He's on his island, laying in his hammock, reading his book, catching a few fish and eating them. Luxuries which he can no longer do. The cycle. This is the cycle of this material world. More Maya ka jal. Yeah? The trap of the material energy. And we fall for it. Left, right, and center. All of us. That's why we're here. How crazy. How crazy are we? And in the process, we miss out on the ultimate goal of life. The lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha Shyam Sundar. Tribhuvana Sundar. In Hungary, we also have Radha Shyam Sundar, and we call them Tribhuvana Sundar. Radha Shyam Sundar. Means the most beautiful in the three worlds. No competition, of course. The most beautiful in the three worlds, because in the heart of a devotee, their lordship, their Ishtadev, is the most beautiful, is the most wonderful. And that is not mutually exclusive. It doesn't mean that yours can't be for you. That's a bhav. It's not tattva. It's bhav. It's rasa. It's a relationship. And that's how we feel. That's how we see it. So sometimes great souls have written so many wonderful verses and descriptions of Krishna consciousness, of the spiritual world, of Vrindavan, of Krishna's pastimes, and they get criticized by so many other people. So I heard one devotee and he just said, if you want to read, then you read. And if you don't like it, then don't read, no problem. It's a bhav. It's the outpourings from a sincere soul's heart. So that's the mood. And that's what we have to cultivate. And all of us have to desire to cultivate this. To be able to just sit and chant the holy names with absorption, with focus, with absorption in bliss. 3 stages. Focus, absorption, and bliss. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for your attention this evening. It's been a pleasure to be with you all. And I wish everyone a wonderful japa session tomorrow morning. And every morning. And bliss in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada ki. Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar ki. Radha Madan Mohan Ji ki. Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki. Gaur Nitai ki. Sankirtan Yagya ki. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.